Welcome to Sunday Night Prime, and I'm delighted to have you come with us this evening. And you know that if you want to get hold of me, you have to use Sunday Night Prime at EWTN.com. So you know that by this time. Now, do we have a unique program? I always tell you we have a great program. This is get the relatives and around the house, get them into the TV. We're having a program today with the Sisters of Life, an order founded by Cardinal O'Connor, a new religious community, growing up almost 100 members, sisters that work with issues related to life, abortion, all sorts of things like that, avoiding that, getting children properly adopted, cared for, mothers cared for that need to be assisted before the children are born. Anybody that needs help with life, John O'Connor wanted our sisters to do that. And I want to introduce you this evening to the Superior, Mother Agnes.
Good to be with you, Father.
Mother Agnes Donovan, who many years ago was teaching at Columbia University. And if I was there 20 years earlier than that, she would have been one of my professors. So
That's a horrible thought.
Horrible thought. I used to use spitballs. And we are with also another one of our Sisters of Life, Sister Magdalene.
Yes.
And where did you tell us you're from?
Originally Carmel, California.
Carmel, California.
Yeah.
Beautiful place
Yeah.
along the sea. Carmel by the sea. And we're going to be talking today about co-workers with life. Lay people, perhaps clergy, working with life, helping mothers, helping babies coming in different ways, a marvelous apostolate. And our sisters, I refer it to our sisters, I've been with the community since it got started the first day, that our sisters uniquely work with mothers and children who are in need. And so we're very grateful. And later on we will have Sister Therese also sitting in. We're celebrating motherliness,
Right.
or maternity. Tell us about that, Mother.
Well, Father, there's a lost sense in our society of maternity. And
Yes, that's
one
true.
of the things that we find as we work with young women is that the beauty of their vocation to maternity is a surprise to them. And if they have not yet come to an understanding of themselves that one day they will be mothers, pregnancy creates a tremendous crisis. So, but we often have gatherings of the women that we serve. We serve hundreds in a year, nearly over 700 every year. And every year, on several occasions during the year, we'll gather our mothers together. And it would be good to tell the people just about kind of what those gatherings are like and why we even do it. you know?
Yes, yeah. We love to have moments, special moments, to just really affirm their motherhood. And it really comes from really the mystery of the visitation, where Our Lady had just conceived Christ beneath her heart. And there she was running through the hills of Galilee. Cardinal O'Connor would always say, there she was running through the hills of Galilee, wondering some of the same things that the women would wonder. Gosh, what am I going to tell Joseph? And what am I going to tell my parents? My goodness, and where did that angel go anyway? He would always say that. And so there she is in this moment of wondering all these things. And that's really when she meets Elizabeth. And Elizabeth says to her, who am I that the mother of my Lord should come to me? That moment is so powerful because she's affirmed in her own maternity. It's, somebody else knows and somebody else thinks that this is a motherhood worth affirming. This is a value worth living. And so she's kind of overjoyed, so much overjoyed that she sings the song that we all know now as the Magnificat. And it's a hymn of praise to the Lord.
Now, here we have a community of Catholic sisters, practically all of them virgins, all of them not, you may have one or two widows along the way. And you're involved completely with babies and mothers.
Absolutely.
What do you do for them?
Well, Father, I think one of the really crystallizing moments for me was reading Pope John Paul II's encyclical on the dignity and vocation of women. It was a phenomenal moment where he describes the vocation to maternity as the vocation for every woman. It's not only for those who are married, but for those who are single, for those who are called to consecration in the Lord. In some way, God will call every woman, because it is of the nature of her person, to exercise her maternity.
That's very an interesting observation.
Isn't it?
Yes.
And it's very, what we find is that women respond to that because they know that's true in their own hearts. And what we have come to know in working, as a sister has headed up the mission of service to the women that we serve every year, we've now served over 10,000 women.
What do you do for them?
Everything.
Well, tell us about it.
Well, we do every sort of thing. We provide for them anything that they will need to be able to make the choice for life.
So they can live with you?
They can live with us. That's possible. If they need support for a place to live, we will help them in that. We will help them with friendships, providing networks of friendship. We will look and assist them in finding jobs, in every sort of thing. You talk more about.
We love to ask them, what is your dream? What is your hope? What have you always wanted to do? And when they tell us that, we say, well, let's make that happen. Whether it's a college education, like transferring from one school to another, if they're embarrassed in one school, we'll get them into another school, just to really make it all work out.
It's a very interesting thing because all my life I've been working with homeless people. I have a home right now, St. Francis House. And we try to make it as much of a home as possible. Joe Campo helps us. We have 15 boys, young men. But what I notice, you don't just provide home, but you do for a large number. And when I go to visit, I don't get the impression that we've got a home. Well, we've got a place where you all live together.
That's right.
I mean, it's not the staff and the mothers.
Right.
Everybody. I was struck by that.
Yes.
Because I've been around social agencies, good ones, all my life, and I never was there that I saw the line disappear.
No, when you walk into our convent in Midtown Manhattan, when you go through the front door and you walk through the first space, the next thing you see is carriage lane. All of the carriages and strollers lined up by the 7 or 8 women who live with us.
Yes.
And that's, it's a beautiful thing. And we share our lives together. We share the same kitchen, we pray in the same chapel, we're together. It's been a beautiful work that God has given us.
I would like to tell you a little bit, the audience, about Mother Agnes Donovan. Mother Agnes, a clinical psychologist, professor at Teachers College. Her doctorate in psychology. Had I been 20 years younger, I would have been at a Teachers College, and she would have been one of my teachers. And She keeps laughing when I hear that, but we actually, you taught developmental psychology, right?
I did.
I took it.
True enough.
Yeah, you were. So we've been around the same times here. Now, what I think would be wonderful, tell us about one of the girls.
Well, you know what I think would be interesting, Father? One of the things that we have come to recognize is that maternity is forever. And so in the life of a young woman, when she finds herself to be with child, to be pregnant, that pregnancy, the decision she makes around that pregnancy will define her for the rest of her life. Maybe, let me tell you a couple of stories. Would you like? I'll tell you a story of a young woman that I knew many years ago who came to live with me, actually, and eventually placed her child for an adoption. More than 20 years later, she wrote me back a couple of years ago when her son contacted her for the first time since she entrusted him to his adoptive parents. And this is part, I'll read little excerpts out of a letter I wrote her because she, at that moment, she wanted her life to be perfect when he came back into her life. She wanted everything to be in order, and it wasn't perfect. Lives aren't usually perfect. And I wrote her back and I said, Dearest Meg, I said, I was shocked the next day reading at Mass early in the morning the genealogy of Jesus Christ. You know, Matthew's account of all the begotten, starting with Abraham and ending with Joseph, the father of Jesus. The timing was incredible, and I recognized immediately that this was no coincidence. Each of us identifies ourselves and understands ourselves in relation to our origins. Even the followers of Jesus would seek to know his origins in the context of the history of the faithful Jewish people. That history now has become the treasured, inspired Word of God. Will is seeking to know from whence he came. He is blessed with a rich heritage, and it is his to inherit. I have always experienced that Will is blessed, Meg, in having you as his mother, and since his adoption, as his spiritual mother through the years. Will's approach to you at this moment is a gift from the Lord. Strange for your reaction, this, on top of everything else, resounds in my heart too. But perhaps instead, this is God's incredible outpouring of his love to you personally this Christmas. Not a vague promise that he will come and reveal his love, but the very personal gift of newly experiencing a son's love, which of course is the blessing of the Incarnation. The Lord knows what your heart needs, and perhaps an encounter with Will is his way of strengthening you in the present circumstances. It is as if he's urging us all to look upon these events not with fear, but in faith. He is the Lord of all. So let us choose to have faith.
You know, it's a problem, knowing in this work all my life, when a mother, particularly an unmarried mother, learns that she has a child coming.
Yes.
It's considered bad news.
That's right.
And the relatives think it's worse
That's
news.
right. That's right.
And many times the little child is born and not even sees their mother or something like that. And how hard it is when the child is growing, how you try to make up for that with wonderful foster parents. I'm a great admirer of great adoptive parents, but always that question is there.
And that's the one this child was asking and came to seek his mother. And in that, she would come to know herself and the wonderful gift of her son, you know, so many years later. There's another story I want to tell you about later.
We got a break.
All right.
I want to make this point, however. We have our audience. Let me tell you this. When you're talking about children without a family, or children born out of wedlock. It is the church and religious organizations of other denominations alone can do this.
That's right.
It must be a sacred
That's
work. It cannot just be pushing through kids
That's
through the
beautiful,
machine.
Father, and that's so true.
So true. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. We're back with Mother Agnes and Sister Therese of the Sisters of Life, and we're talking about preparing a child and parents and others with the birth of a child without complete family. That's probably the best way to do it. A mother by her child. Now, Mother, tell us, you've been right in the middle of this, surviving, helping people survive. What do we thinking?
Well, I think this is something that would be so helpful, Father, to those who listen to your show, to think about the heart of the pregnant woman. Sister Magdalene now has been behind the scenes working with these women for the last 10 years. And
10 years?
Yeah, I know.
You must have started when you were 7 years old.
Thank you so much.
So tell them about what you've learned.
Well, you know, when we first started out, we really didn't know how to think about it. We didn't know where to go with it and how to go through just the thinking. And then as time went on, it came more and more clear that every woman coming to us isn't thinking, oh, this is an embarrassing pregnancy necessarily. What she's actually thinking is either my life is over or this life of this child is over. That's her question. Either my life is all the way over or this life of the child is over. It's not that she's totally embarrassed. It's not that she is afraid of what people will think, but she literally thinks her life is over. Now, she knows it's not her actual death. She knows she's probably going to live, but everything she's used to, the freedoms she's had, the boyfriend she has, the relationships she has with her parents, she thinks her parents will kill her, all these things we hear. So she really thinks her life is over. And that's really been helpful for us in coming to serve her. When we come to serve her, we can come with that knowledge. And those that work with us, when they can come with that understanding, her actual heart, that this is a crisis of her heart. She needs to have us give her this gift of faith, make an act of faith in her very self. And for us to have, when she knows that we understand and she feels understood, when she feels understood, that's when she can make a leap of faith and make that faith, that act of faith in herself. Yeah.
And that usually follows a relationship. Somehow the woman has heard about us some way. And like in the story of Anna now, this was a young girl, she was 18, Catholic, of devout parents, and found herself pregnant. And she was terrorized to tell her parents, terrorized. And yet she actually, one of our sisters was visiting the parish, she saw her, and another sister who works in the parish, who learned of her pregnancy, encouraged her to call us. She finally called us, she lived with us, and during the months when she could live with us and could kind of get her feet back under her and feel more secure in who she was, and actually through her prayer with us come to know that even in these circumstances where she had so disappointed herself, so disappointed her parents, that she really still was the beloved daughter of God. That during those months, she then made a pledge to herself of chastity. It's amazing. And became, after she left, became a youth leader who gives talks on chastity to the young here in New York City. And while she does that, her mother babysits her son, the very mother that she was terrorized, would practically kill her.
I noticed that you've got a brochure here about two girls, Meg and Teresa.
Right.
Now tell me a little bit about that, and we'd like to make this brochure available to us. They show it to us on our camera now.
Well, there are two brochures that are very helpful to have in the back of our churches. I know. But let's talk about the two pregnancy brochures that would be valuable for these young women to have.
Sure, and what we have is a pregnancy brochure just to let them know that there is hope. There is a way to go forward with the pregnancy. So these brochures would be great to have in the back of your parish for those, especially we've had even altar servers, young women who were so embarrassed that they were pregnant. And here they are, altar servers, and worried what the church will think. And so it's great to be like, we're a parish that's going to uphold you. We really believe that that's what is necessary, that the church needs to be this net, buoying them up in a sea that's rough, So we need to catch them.
We have to ask if our audience wants to get hold of the brochures. What do we do?
Write the Sisters of Life.
Sisters of Life.
Right. And the address would be 586
McLean
Avenue,
Yonkers,
New York, 10705.
Say it again.
Yes, 586 McLean Avenue, Yonkers, New York, 10705.
Okay, we'll run that through at the end. We'll ask them to put it on the screen.
Yeah. The reason that these brochures are important is because they give someone a sense that there is a real opportunity and a real choice that can be made here that is not going to leave her devastated and alone. Yeah. One of the things that we've come to know, Father, and this is from my psychology, but it's actually, I found it written one day in a dissertation from the Angelicum by a priest. And it was a beautiful thesis that he wrote on mothers and infants. And in it, he spoke of mothers as the tutors of love. And he spoke about the nature of the human person who needs to know that she is loved, that every heart thrives and flourishes only in love. Well, we took this and began to recognize that our young, frightened women that come to us need this same tutor, need a mentor in love. And it became the instruction that we used for our own work. So we call it the secret of love. And really what it is the secret of how to love as Christ loves, how to love authentically. And it's a wonderful thing. It's the most powerful little notion you can have because it can change your relationships with your spouse. It can change your relationship with children, with your community members. It's really a wonderful, revolutionizing, really, understanding. And what this priest said was that what we need to do when we intend and desire to love another is that we need first to receive, to be able to perceive and receive into our own hearts something of the beauty, the goodness, the strength, something of the uniqueness of this other person. And when we can allow our own heart to be moved by the beauty we see in the other, and then act in love, in charity toward the other begins to understand and gets the idea that we love them because we are moved by something about themselves, something that we have seen in them. And in that she is strengthened in herself and has this sense that she now can do this. If we can see this. We had a wonderful experience recently where a woman came back to us that we served years ago. She'd now taken a nursing college degree, and she was nearly ready to take her exams and get a job. And we were just sitting down and rejoicing with her and just, spending the afternoon together. And at one point in the conversation, she looked up at us and she said, "I'm only beginning to understand and to experience myself as the person you always believed in." she knew that we held out for her the hope and the faith of a person that she couldn't even yet experience, but we could see. And that's the secret of love. If we can do this with our children that are 13, at a tough time in their lives, or at 21, or when they hit a bad patch at 27, you know, we can strengthen them to be their better selves. And that is by loving what we see God has placed within them.
And it's really been a blessing for all the sisters, because the byproduct is that when you allow the delight of it reveals something in them, you can uncover it, it moves your heart, so it's like it gives you actually energy. So people are always asking us, how do you not get burnt out? And I always tell them, well, it's because we're delighting. It's a natural delight that just flows from your own heart. So it's kind of been a beautiful secret that Mother revealed.
Now I'm going to be a red fish here.
A devil's advocate?
Devil's advocate. I mean, I've been working with poor people
all your life,
more than half a century.
Right.
And what you're talking about, I have seen this many, many times. My days at Children's Village and St. Francis House and kids. But once in a while, you find a person so hurt
Yeah, it's hard to
out
find.
of childhood,
That's right.
abused, that you can't do that. They are wild. They may not look wild, but they're angry, deeply angry and violent, ultimately destructive of others and destructive of self. And I spent a lot of time of my life thinking about such people. And there's one of them in the gospel, and that is the thief. You know, there was nothing left. He was finished. And in that last few minutes with the encounter, the Son of God, purely on his own self-concern, remember me.
Yeah.
Remember me. Don't forget me. Here he is at the drama of salvation. And his little voice could be, don't forget me. And that's another group of people. And
You know, it reminds me, Father, of the man who was mad in Gennesaret.
yeah,
And that Jesus comes,
Yes.
and they can't even keep him chained. He bursts through the chains. He's so wild. But in the contact with the incarnate Jesus, he is healed.
he's healed.
And he is sent back to his own people to be witness to the power of Christ.
Which Christ could do.
Yeah,
The rest of us may be there at the end of the road,
that's right.
but you go to the end of the road.
That's right. You never give up.
There was a wonderful priest, Father Donovan, who was chaplain of Sing Sing. And years ago, but there for a long time. And when a man was condemned to death, it was quite common, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, to get the electric chair. Donovan would be in the prison all day, whether he was a Catholic or not. And one man refused. He said, Father, you're a nice man, and you were nice to me, and practically no one was ever nice to me in my life. But I can't go to confession. I don't believe anything. And he was strapped in the electric chair. Father Donovan was at the back, and they have to put the thing in his mouth. And the warden said, do you have anything else to say? And he shouted out, God have mercy on my soul. Father Donovan absolved him. And he went to that
Praise the
moment.
Lord.
And that's kind of a symbol to me. Some people who have been so horribly hurt that only Christ himself. And I think that such hopeless people, sometimes they end up there. But this is the rest of the world.
Yes.
And I'm so impressed with the sisters, and I know the sisters very well already, but telling me and you their understanding what they're doing with mothers, unmarried mothers. And the sisters are not telling you, some of these girls are tough girls. Oh yeah, oh yes. And some of them could cuss for 5 minutes without ever repeating
the same word.
That's it. And yet, I have been there with the sisters many times, and I see such a beautiful atmosphere by the mothers.
By the mothers, indeed.
Well, that's what you want. It's not an institution. It's a convent for girls who never thought they were going to be in a convent in their life. And they never may have even known what a convent was.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And unfortunately, not very many people do right now.
You know who was the first to have this idea was Pope John Paul II. In 1970s, the early 70s, he asked the nuns in Krakow to take young women who were pregnant and in need into their convents. Isn't that amazing?
And let me mention, Sacred Heart, your house, is in a very short walk to what is called the center of the world.
That's right.
You're on
51st.
and they're on 42nd.
That's right.
It's a short walk.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be having a break now, and we'll be back. We're coming back now to the last part of our program, and we're going to be focusing on people who help mothers, co-workers for life. And we're with us this evening. We had Sister Madeline leave us, but now we have Sister Therese, who comes from Long Island, and and she's going to be talking about things. But first, we have a very interesting short film that was prepared by the sisters. And could we possibly see that now?
As a handmaid, I'm to serve these women, pregnant women. They might be in crisis pregnancies, and it's threefold. I would say it's giving them objective kind of opinions and perspectives on what's going on. Just being there, just to listen, as well. Just being a friend, whether it's grabbing a cup of tea or helping them with their nursery, the registry.
As a handmaid, I've received I probably haven't given as much as they've given me. I give support, rides, but they've given me a sense of purpose, a sense of their friendship.
My experience with being a handmaid has been very rewarding. I think I've gotten so much out of it. I think I was a bit nervous going into it. I just thought I wouldn't know what to say to these women, because maybe I'm not in that same predicament. But however, I think it's just great. It's just really great just to be there for them. I feel like I got tenfold out of it, and it's just amazing to see these very strong women face a battle and overcome it.
As co-workers, we are available for the sisters however they may need us. If there's one of the examples is one young lady needed blankets in their home when the heat went out. So we brought blankets, diapers. We are there for the mothers who may need some help, may need a ride to a doctor's appointment, or another example, we babysat while mom was giving birth to another baby. So and I made dinner for them one night, so.
And sometimes just sitting on the phone, listening to them, or giving them a place to go when things, either they feel alone or they feel overwhelmed where they are. They might just come over and hang out and watch TV or eat dinner or whatever. So it's just like having a friend.
I would encourage people to become co-workers because it's just an amazing calling. It's, I used to think that I was pro-choice and that people, I don't have the right to tell somebody that they shouldn't have an abortion, but I came to realize that I'm allowed to make my opinion matter and make my opinion known without hurting somebody in a positive way, and this is my way of letting my voice be heard.
The biggest part that happens here, I think, ultimately, are the donations from all the wonderful people who donate, especially during the holidays at Christmas time. We get tons of diapers and strollers and all the various things that the moms need. They have to be stored, they have to be assembled, they have to be sorted out. Many of our donations come without parts. So it's incumbent upon me to get the parts and make the crib be assembled. It gives me, personally, a wonderful sense of doing something not only for the sisters, not only for the moms, but for our Lord.
Well, as a holy respite, what do I do as a holy respite? I provide a space for the mom to kind of get away from the world and get a chance to be on her own and think and figure out what she wants to do.
We had a lot of children and we couldn't go to all the meetings and all that, so we decided to open our home and have a room for these girls to come. And we've done that over the years.
St. Paul tells us that hospitality is the great virtue. And if you have the room, one virtue you can practice as a family and work on is hospitality. Right? And your whole family benefits from it, and we tell you that from experience.
I think originally we were very scared, and yet it seemed like the good spiritual thing to do. I would have to say that in the end, we thought we were giving to them, and I suppose to some degree we were, but they taught amazing things to our children and to us personally. We learned how blessed we were and what we had to offer, which was nothing fancy, nothing really material, just put more spaghetti in the pot, a few more green peas on the plate, and share.
Well, why do I think others should consider being a co-worker or being a holy respite? Well, first of all, I think for me, it deepened my spiritual life. It helped me to realize what charity is really all about, that you can do so much for a person just by offering your home to them. That it's something that you won't ever forget, and someday, even whatever doubts you may have about what you did in life, you can look back and say, I did that and I know that was the right thing to do. That was the right thing I was supposed to do.
I started employing pregnant women about 2004, and I think my motivation was actually Cardinal O'Connor's call to telling women to bring their children to him. And I knew that it didn't mean to him directly. I knew that was a call to all of us to do our part in whatever way we could to help these women. And I also considered, too, that some of the basic needs of a pregnant woman is a job, having the security of a job, the dignity of a job. On occasion, the sisters would come to us and have a prospect for a job, and I'd have to think, well, where are we going to employ this person? But it turns out that most do have a set of skills that has some function that we can give them during their employment, and they actually surprise us. They may start with something very basic, but I've been fortunate enough to have some of the women train the future women who came to us so that it takes a burden off of us in actually doing the training. So it works out very well for both the sisters who think I'm doing them a favor, but in fact they're doing me a great favor too. Several years ago, we employed one woman who came from Bremerton, Washington, and she was with us for about 4 months and went back to Bremerton to have her child. And in December of that year, she called and asked if I'd be the godfather to her child. She came back to New York, had the baptism at Sacred Heart Church here in New York, and Father Katersky baptized my little godson Simon. And I was fortunate enough to be out in Seattle this past summer and got to meet Simon and his mom. Simon's now 6 years old, and he's a bright, little, adorable boy. We stay in touch throughout the year, and I look forward to watching him grow up and staying in touch with him and his mom for many, many more years. I think others should consider being an employer because this is something we're all in together. The Sisters of Life can take a lead in giving us the opportunities, but we need to all show give our time, talents, and treasures in every way possible, and nothing more than giving the security to a woman knowing that she has that dignity of a job to come to each day and support herself and her future baby.
Well, we've had a good chance to look at some co-workers with life. These have all come to us through the Sisters of Life, but all around the United States, there are people working for life and preserving life, and I have to say that a great many of these are Catholic programs. Right here in the New York area, we have my good friend Chris Bell and the Good Counsel Homes. We have Pat and Deirdre Shea, Mom's House, and Kathy DiFiore, who I think was on with us, several sources in New Jersey. Look around in the United States, in Europe where we come on, in Australia, we come in some Latin American countries. Look around that you could be a co-worker for life. Mm-hmm. Now, Mother, you've been doing this for years. Tell people how to do this.
Well, you know, Father, it's amazing what God does, because it was out of our own poverty. I mean, there were so few of us, and we couldn't serve the women as they needed to be served. And out of God's divine economy, He made it clear to us over time, it took us a while to figure it out, that He wanted us to help raise up God's people. You know, that He was summoning these good, faithful people, you know, in the parishes, sitting in the pews, and He was summoning them. He wanted them to get involved in defending and preserving the lives of people. And because we were so little, it gave all of them an opportunity to get involved. And that's been, I mean, how do 6 sisters serve 700 people, young women every year? You couldn't possibly do it without our thousands of co-workers. But Sister Therese, tell the people about the kinds of things our co-workers do, the sort of roles that they fulfill.
Sure, our co-workers of life, they're just wonderful people. And as we saw from the video, they're regular. They're lay men and women that believe that women and their children deserve better than abortion. And they're willing to give of their time. They're willing to give of their talent to show a pregnant woman just that she's important and what she's going through is important. And our co-workers of life really take to heart the words of St. Paul when he says in 1 Thessalonians, "With such affection for you, we were determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but the very gift of ourselves." And that's what our co-workers of life do. It's really within the context of a relationship that the women know themselves to be loved and they're able to choose life. So as you saw in the video, they wear a lot of different hats. They play many roles. We have a large email network where people sign up. You can go to sistersoflife.org and click Get Involved to learn more about how to become a co-worker of life. And what they do is some women will sign up to be what we call a handmaid. And a handmaid is a friend to a pregnant woman. She might call her up over the phone, get together with her, grab a slice of pizza, but really listen to her, hear what she's going through, and help her to see how God is working so movingly in her life. We have men who will also put cribs together, put strollers together. We call them St. Joseph workers. You saw one of them in the video. Also, we have families who we call holy respites, who will actually allow a pregnant woman to come and live with her, live with them during her time of pregnancy, because some of our women really do find themselves alone. They've been abandoned by those they thought they could count on the most. So being able to provide a home for a pregnant woman during her pregnancy is a huge help. We also have pro-life lawyers, pro-life doctors, counselors, and employers who are also willing to give of their services to a pregnant woman. And we need all of them. We need all of them to build
And
a network of
priests
support.
who will provide spiritual direction. You know, it's maybe you could tell the people a story. I'm thinking of Monica.
Yes.
You know, and her
Yes.
story, which really it reveals how many people it takes, and if everyone does their little part, how it all comes together, and a woman could be served, and it's not overwhelming to anyone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, Monica's story is just a wonderful story of grace. I think even the sisters were in awe about how much God just showered her with love through the help of the coworkers of life.
Yeah.
So Monica called us. She was 8 weeks pregnant. She was already a mother. And she was really considering having an abortion because she was going to get evicted from her apartment, and she had nowhere to go. So she spent about 45 minutes speaking with the sisters over the phone. They were giving her resources for apartments, trying to come up with some ideas. And they made an appointment for the next day for Monica to come in and to speak with the sisters face to face. And Monica said, yes, I'll try to come in. You know, I can't make you any promises, but I'm still considering, you know, having an abortion. So of course the sisters, you know, started to pray that Monica would come and see us. And that morning, Monica did not come for her appointment. And of course, the sisters were very heavy-hearted, and they went into prayer and asked the Lord to intervene. And he certainly did in a big way. That morning, Monica had her friend come to pick her up, to take her to the abortion clinic. And she gave her friend a piece of paper that had the address to the clinic. And she got into the car, and she just closed her eyes, and she was on her way to the clinic. But she asked the Lord for help. She asked him to give her a sign. And when she opened up her eyes, she realized that she was not in front of an abortion clinic. In fact, she was in front of our visitation convent, our convent on East 66th Street.
Wow.
That's right. Yes,
Watch
yes.
out for the guardian angel.
Exactly. She had given her friend the wrong address, which was the right address. It was our address. You know, so instead of getting an abortion that day, she came in and she spoke with us. And she was still concerned because she had nowhere to live. So what we did was we contacted our coworkers of life. We asked them for prayers, and we asked them for their help. She had wanted to move to Florida. She had sisters there, and she thought she could make a home for herself there. And literally within 15 minutes, our coworkers of life responded. A woman had a house in Tampa that she said that our Monica could live there for a little while. 2 other coworkers came up with the rent for Monica to stay. Somebody donated a car, and we even had a coworker who offered to take all of Monica's furniture to Florida. And we were able to get a lot of handmaids and a lot of support there for her to have friends. And it was really through that experience that Monica knew without a shadow of a doubt that God loved her.
And her child.
Isn't that beautiful?
We call that the miracle on 66th Street.
Yeah, 66th Street. Well, I think it's a marvelous story that
Isn't it great?
gave her the wrong address. Yeah. The right address.
Right address. Indeed, indeed.
You see, if I was listening to this program, and I was, say, an obstetrician, and I was in favor of abortion for difficult situations, don't have a picture of all abortionists being cruel, diabolical creatures. They think they're helping people. And I'd love one of them to hear this program. And, you know, it was the wrong address. It was the right address. And I know, and some of you don't know, we have met former abortionists who are now apostles of life.
Exactly.
And originally, they thought they were doing the right thing. One of the things you want to remind when you when you're dealing with something killing innocent people, whether it's the Nazis or anything else, killing innocent people is a diabolical phenomenon. It's the work of Satan. And this is diabolical. Now, there's a whole lot of nice people who don't even know how to spell the word diabolical. But they have been drawn into it. And a number have turned around and have become witnesses. If we have some people listening to this program, which well we may do, and they have been working to produce abortion, to kill innocent children, I want them to listen. And I pray especially for them and for political leaders who support this, even if they get up and tell you they wish you don't have to support it, but they do. You know, we hear that lots and lots of times. There should be fewer abortions. There should be none abortions. And unfortunately, you see a society, Western civilization, led into lies, led into deception of Satan. Read Genesis 1. It is the story of deception. Well, we're going to be coming to the end of our program. Sisters, Mother, thank you very, very much.
Thank you,
and I'd like to ask you all to join us to pray that the work of life, not only with the Sisters of Life, but everyone in the United States, throughout the world, of every religious denomination, and none, working together, working to do this because it is a work of God, because God is the source of all life. May Almighty God bless you all. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. As we always do, we ask you to continue to support EWTN. I think you could tell that our program this evening with the Sisters of Life is a marvelous example of what EWTN is able to do. And constantly, people are talking to me when they see me come up on the subway to tell me that the only thing that they watch on television is EWTN because everything else is junk. And one old gentleman was very obviously Jewish. I said, what are you doing watching Catholic television? He said, it's the only thing that's worthwhile. God bless.